feel like a little floating head in this black turtleneck. Hi friends, today I wanted to test the new Buttermelt Glaze Soft Glow Skin Tint from NYX. NYX makes some of my favorite complexion products from the drugstore, so I'm really excited to try this out. If you guys enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and let's go ahead and get into it. So the NYX Buttermelt Glaze Soft Glow Skin Tint has sunscreen broad spectrum SPF 30. I got mine in the shade Vanilla Bean Butta, the second lightest shade, and you get 1.01 fluid ounces of product, or 30 mLs. It does have a chemical sunscreen in it, so if you are sensitive to chemical sunscreen, that is something to keep in mind. It's a 93% skincare formula with niacinamide, mango, and shea butter. And when I saw that NYX was launching this, I was so excited because, like I said, NYX makes some of my favorite complexion products from the drugstore. I'm a really big fan of their Bare With Me Blur Tint. I also was a ginormous fan of their Born to Glow foundation. They sadly discontinued that, but that was one of the most beautiful foundations I have ever tried. I also love their Bare With Me concealer serum, so I have high hopes for this. I did swatch this product already, and I will say the shade looks slightly too dark for my skin right now, hence the turtleneck, but we're gonna make it work. So it comes in this little squeezy tube, and the texture of this is pretty liquidy, but it doesn't run down the back of your hand super quickly. I think the shade will be okay, but maybe just a smidge dark. It feels creamy, but a thin cream, if that makes sense. Almost like melted butter, kind of. So I'm just going to dot this around the face. We'll start off with half the face, just to see how much coverage it gives. I'm going to take my Real Techniques Expert Face Brush to blend this out. Actually, the shade might end up working a lot better than I thought. Maybe a smidge dark. I zoomed you in a little bit so you can see how it's sitting on the skin a little bit better. I forgot to mention before, but I did want to mention that the price of this is actually pretty high for the drugstore. It is $16. What? Which I think is the most expensive I've seen a foundation product retail for at the drugstore. So actually, no, the CoverGirl Little Beady foundation, the Simply Ageless Essence, that might have been more expensive than this, but holy moly, the drugstore foundations are like creeping up there. Anyway, back to the application. I think you can see it evened out the skin tone slightly. This side of my face has no foundation, but it is very, very natural. You can still see some of my little freckles, hyperpigmentation, my beauty mark. You can still see my skin peeking through, which I like on an everyday basis. I don't mind a more sheer coverage. Let's see if we can build it up. So I'll go in with like that much more. Even though it is very thin, it's very creamy, if that makes sense. It blends out super easily. It's not sticking onto my nose the best. This might be one of those foundations where you need to let it sit for a couple minutes. The nose is usually the trickiest spot for a foundation to really adhere to. That looks really pretty. I think it built up slightly. I would say light coverage. You're definitely not gonna get full coverage out of this, but it says it is a skin tint, so I mean, I wasn't really expecting to get full coverage. However, I will say that their Bare With Me Blur Tint, it says tint in the name, but this is like medium to full coverage foundation status. So I was thinking it was gonna be sheer coverage, but you know, you never know. You never know with skin tints. A lot of companies just put skin tint in the name because it's trendy, but it's not necessarily a skin tint. This one seems more along the lines of a traditional skin tint in terms of coverage level. I think it's sitting really pretty on the skin. You can see it has a subtle glow. We'll see if it sets down at all or dries down, but I really can't tell where the product stops and where my real skin starts aside from the shade. I think it looks so beautiful so far. Okay, let's try a sponge on the other side. So we'll do one sheer layer first. I'm just going in with that much to start. Maybe a little bit more. So I'm gonna take my beauty blender. It is dampened. Press that into the skin. Really, this is one of those products that I feel you could apply easily with your fingers. Yeah, it just melts into the skin. The name is very fitting, Buttermelt. You can see there it is sheer. You can see my vein, some discoloration. The redness on my nose is not completely covered, but overall I think it looks really pretty. Let's try to build it up again. I also like the squeezy too because the product doesn't just run out. You do have to actually squeeze it, so you have a lot of control. I'm gonna let this sit on my nose a little bit to get the most coverage. And I have been blowing my nose a lot. I think I'm coming down with something, so I do have a lot of redness and dryness and irritation around my nose. It is so easy to blend. It's like boop, 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 blended, boop, 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 blended. I am gonna put a little bit more on this side too, and we'll tap that in with the brush in a minute. My nose needs all the help it can get. Alright, yeah, so you can see it built up slightly. I would say light coverage, maybe high light coverage. Medium is pushing it, but I don't think you're gonna get much more than that, or else it's gonna start looking kind of heavy on the skin. You can see some of my skin peeking through, but I think overall it looks really natural. I love the glow that it has. It's not shimmery or sparkly, but it doesn't look overly greasy. And it's not really emphasizing pores or texture. Sometimes with really dewy, luminous foundations, it can emphasize texture, lines, all of that stuff, just because of the nature of the product. But I actually feel like this one looks pretty smooth on the skin. I'm gonna give this a minute to dry, and then we'll try to blend it out and see if we can get a little bit more coverage. Okay, it's been about a minute, so let's see if we can get a little bit more coverage. And I'm just going in with such soft pressure. I really don't want to press too hard because that's going to definitely pick up some of the product. That looks good. I think I got some pretty good coverage there. I'm happy with that. Yeah, so I think with this formula, if you do want to get the absolute most coverage out of it, not going to be full coverage, but if you want to get a good like medium-ish coverage out of it, you need to let it sit for a couple minutes, and that will do the trick. Also, I don't notice a huge difference between the side with the sponge and the brush. You guys will have to let me know. I feel like they look very, very similar. So I'm going to quickly apply the rest of my makeup, and then we'll come back and I'll tell you how everything applied on top of it, and we'll start a wear test and see how this wears throughout the day. So far, upon application, I have really high hopes though. Okay guys, I just finished up the rest of my makeup. It is currently 11:09 a.m. so I will wear this all day long, and I will check back in with you guys later. In terms of how everything applied beautifully on top of the foundation. I did set under my eyes in my T-zone, but I didn't set my cheeks or the perimeter of my face, so the foundation didn't set down fully. It's not sticky, but it's not fully dry either, if that makes sense. So I think this might be a foundation that benefits from being set, but we'll see how it wears. And you know, I just wanted to kind of see how it would wear by itself versus being set. Overall, I think it looks really, really good so far. It is settling into my forehead lines or smile lines just a little bit, but that is very, very normal. Pretty much all my foundations do it. I have lines, so it's normal, but it's not overly doing it. And actually, it's doing it less than other foundations I have in my collection or that I've tried. So yeah, overall, I love it so far. We'll see how it wears. I'll check back in with you guys in a little while, but for you, like right now. Alright friends, I'm back in my grandma sweater, and it is currently 7:54 p.m. We'll call it 8 o'clock. So I've been wearing this foundation for about, what, 9 hours now? And I have to say, I'm really impressed overall. I am looking a little bit like a glazed donut, but that is in the name, to be expected. Honestly, it felt really lightweight on my skin all day long, and that is one of the claims of the foundation, lightweight feeling. And it actually wore a lot better than I was expecting for a skin tint. Some of my other skin tints, like the CoverGirl one, does not wear as long as this. Now, I did notice around the, I would say maybe 6-hour mark, it's starting to wear off around my cheeks. Again, if you remember, I did not set my cheeks, so next time, to maybe get a little bit more longevity out of it, I would set them with powder, maybe even going with a gripping primer like the glue primer from NYX or the Power Grip from e.l.f. I'm gonna try that and see if it helps to extend the wear a little bit, because I have to say the finish of this, the way that it looks on the skin, reminds me so much of one of my favorite foundations, probably my current favorite foundation, the Fenty Beauty Soft Lit Foundation, except that one has a bit more coverage and it wears all day long, but the finish, the way it feels and looks is very similar. Who do I think this is for? I think it is for people with normal to dry skin. If you have extremely oily skin, I don't know if you're going to love this because it is very hydrating. It's not greasy, but you can see even on my dry skin, I'm looking a little bit extra hydrated. And also, if you're someone who wants medium to full coverage, this is not going to be your foundation because it just doesn't give you that much coverage. And if you are looking for something that wears all day long, extreme wear, this is also not going to be it. I think it does get pretty good wear for a skin tint, but I would say this is better suited for everyday, 6 hours at the max, just running errands, natural kind of makeup look. That's what I think this will be best suited for. If you have combo skin, I think this could work for you, but you are going to probably have to touch up throughout the day, going with a setting powder and whatnot. Overall, I think it's looking really good on the skin. It wore off around my nose, but I have been blowing my nose quite a bit. It wore off on my chin and again on the cheeks where I did not set, but on my forehead it stayed in place pretty well. It is a little bit shiny. It's starting to sink into my pores just a little bit here, but nothing crazy. My only concern with this is that it does have a chemical sunscreen, and my skin and chemical sunscreens do not always get along. They can be irritating. I do sort of wish that it was a mineral sunscreen, although one of the claims of this is that it doesn't leave a white cast, which is sort of easier to achieve with a chemical sunscreen. Mineral sunscreens tend to leave the white cast more often. So I see why they did it. I like that it has a lot of skincare ingredients. I like that it has the SPF. Of course, do not rely on this for your full sun protection because the amount of product you would need to really get that SPF 30 would look a bit heavy and probably feel a bit cakey on the skin. And you probably want to go in with something a little bit stronger than an SPF 30. So just something to keep in mind, but it is nice that it's in there to offer the extra sun protection. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think of this skin tint from NYX. Are you interested in trying it? Does that $16 price point scare you off completely? Let me know what you guys think. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you found it helpful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in my next video. Bye!